Okay. Uh, Excited today. We have Meghan Mena, who's joining us from PatchYaLater, which is an awesome patch online store. And I think it's become something even more than just patches. I think it's turned into a full
I'm
accessory.
trying. I'm trying.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so excited to have you on and talk about kind of how you got started, your business. Because honestly, your story is, it's too cliche to say the American dream. And I bet you don't have the picket fence yet, that you need for the American dream, the white picket fence. You might,
Right.
you might. But I think it's a lot of people's dreams, especially graphic designers and designers, to work for themselves and to figure out how to carve out their own niche to do that. So, and I know that you've done it, and in a very inspirational way. So maybe you could kind of give us the starting of the story of how it got started.
So it started when I was taking Professor Hoffman's class at Berkeley City College. And I had gotten an embroidery machine, which is kind of the way I like to look at it. It's kind of like a version of a 3D printer where you have a graphic, an Illustrator, right? And it's a vector graphic. And then you have another program where you have to draw it as stitches. And then you save the file to a USB drive and put that in your embroidery machine. So I was kind of playing around with that because I was learning, taking Illustrator and doing more design focused classes. And then I was trying to work on my portfolio. And I remember I was doing I wanted to do an e-commerce site. And then I did that. And then I was using my skills from the class to make an Instagram. And I had zero intention. I remember my goal was, okay, I'm going to get 100 followers. And it's going to be so cool for my little patch business. And I was making all my friends do it. And then I just got kind of like sucked in because I can be kind of competitive. And I would just like do different things that I didn't even know were like tools, but like go through the hashtags, like all the hashtags that were applicable. Like, bloggers would be like, hey, blah, 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 will you do this? And it's like, yeah, sure. Okay. Cause I didn't really think anything of it. And didn't really have that big of a goal for it. So I think like my confidence level was a little higher than like if I was trying to like get a job or like really trying to like focus to become a freelance graphic or web or whatever designer. And then it just kind of took off. It was slow and I definitely didn't know what the heck I was doing. And I kind of had to I did like a trade show, like a pretty big trade show, like pretty early on because I got lucky too because patches were just like a super trendy thing at the time. But I probably shouldn't have done the trade show because I was not in a position to take on these huge clients. But it was a good learning experience. And then I think it'll be 3 years now. 3 years ago, I took a business planning class at the Renaissance Center in the city, and it was great. I highly recommend it. And it's like a 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, pretty intensive class. And your goal is to write a business plan. So I did that. And that's helped me a lot, kind of gain more like understanding for what I want for my business and like a lot of finance stuff. But even with that, like I kind of, it's just a learning experience. You're kind of figuring out who your client is and what you want your business to be or your brand or who you want to be as a designer. And it's just, you're learning all the time. And so, yeah, did that answer the question?
Yeah, it started to paint a picture, but there's a lot of...
I think I kind of got a little sidetracked there, but that's how I started it.
No, there's a lot of directions to go.
Yeah, it's always, I feel like that's, yeah. Because you don't want to I feel like you always have to try and like be growing and building and learning new things.
Yeah, it sounds like you mentioned, taking risks that you probably wouldn't have if it was your design full-time job and your goal to get this job as a graphic designer. I see that pattern so often where it's just like this beginner's luck or something, but really it might be just beginner's confidence. Like you don't know what you shouldn't do and you're willing to take those risks.
I didn't, yeah. And I also, a little secret, I don't really care, but like I don't even think I had an iPhone at the time, or maybe I had like a really, really bad one. And I didn't even like know how to take a photo of my product. So I was just scanning it and putting it like on top of like going into Photoshop and putting it on top of another image. And then somehow that's kind of like become this like cool thing that like people like about my Instagram, but it's like not because I did it intentionally. It was just because I didn't like have the tools or like wasn't capable. Yeah. So like that
Yeah.
one there, the start walking one. Yeah. So
Yeah.
whereas like most brands, they have like models or like they have like product photographers, and like I haven't had to learn a lot of that stuff throughout the
Yeah, but
years, but it
people
didn't
like
start that way.
the genuine version of it, I guess, like these
I
experiments. And
guess.
that's what's fun about Instagram, right? It's like it's all about just trying these different things because it's such a limited format. You have to sort of, go
Yeah.
crazy.
And
I
I've
mean,
definitely like, improved my photography skills, and now I have the pro camera and like the little light and stuff like that. So, but
so,
baby steps.
so let's talk a little bit about these designs. Actually, because I always thought that was pure genius, actually. And actually, I also always thought that it was really time consuming. Like it's one thing to say that you're going to do that, but then you have to commit to it, right? So then every time you're making some type of little design in Illustrator. Now, if I remember correctly, you just really liked Illustrator by itself and you were
I
pretty
do.
fast at it, right? So it just kind of that came naturally.
I think I spent Photoshop, like I took a class or two, and then I kind of learned that, YouTube is this great tool. And like, if you know the basics, you know what you're supposed to search for a little bit, then you can like get, you watch a video, and these programs are really great because you can kind of, there's no right or, I mean, technically there's a right and wrong way, but like you can kind of just do it your way.
Yeah.
So I've been able to have a lot of fun with it. But as you can see, I don't really do too many collages because they are pretty time consuming. So yeah, and I'll do like, now I feel so professional, I'll do like a collection for, the spring. And like I know when I'm supposed to do a collection to get wholesale before the holiday. So how I've grown. But
Well,
but
let's
yeah.
talk a little bit about that. What does that mean to create a
Mhm.
collection? What type of thought process do you go through when you're trying to create a collection? Like my guess off the top would be it's a process, and you're seeing different things, and something just like a light bulb goes off because your mind is always on it. And you're like, that's what I'm going to do my collection for this year, something like that. Would you say that's along those lines, or how do you go about
Yeah.
it?
Well, I guess I could talk about, I don't know if this is going to interfere with future questions, so stop me if it is, because like this year, for example, has been like pretty crazy, as like we all know. And so, well, I guess normally like, okay, I'll do two parts. So when I create, so a lot of my work is based off like a song, because that's kind of like what my customers like. And like, so I'll do that. But then I also have learned that sometimes it's a little bit too obscure. So I always try to do like, and like Valentine's Day, like I'll try and do like some like like lovey-dovey sort of stuff, and then some for like the real pessimists or whatever, and like just kind of have like combination. But then I also learned that you kind of have to do something that like might catch someone's eye who might not necessarily know a song. Like, so I'll do like some like very basic with like just like some cherries and a heart, and like that might just be something that like, oh, that's cute, I need a patch on my jacket, or like stores. It's kind of a little safer. So it's good to have a couple of different options within a collection. And then I'll usually always try to like, it's funny because this year, for example, during Valentine's Day, I did one for Wish You Were Here, the Pink Floyd song. It's like two lost souls swimming in a fishbowl. And so I did two fishes in a fishbowl, and I was like, could not get it down. I was really mad about it, and I was like, it's not even going to sell. And then of course, like, what is it, like 6 weeks later, we go into shelter in place, and like that thing is booming because it says "Wish You Were Here" on it. So it's just, you never know. And then there'll be designs that I do that I think like, okay, this is it. It's gonna be my real ticket, and like I sell like 5 of them. I'm like, okay, that's cool. So you it's good to have a variety, and also try and do things that kind of, whether it's using different colors or like different designs, something a little bit more simple, something a little bit more complex, different shapes, just something so you can kind of reach a good audience with the collection.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, and then but this year, because it's gotten so crazy, instead of doing so I did my like, everything's so political right now, and so I tried to do some patches along those lines, but it's like, you don't want to step on any, like, as a brand, and like, for me, my Instagram is for my brand. It's not, I'm not trying to like, some small businesses are very much about, I am my brand. So, you know, but I don't want to do that. That doesn't work for me. So I try to like, and I also try to not tell my customers how to feel. I want them to like figure out how they want to, how something that I've made makes them feel, if that makes sense. So I'm trying to transition for holiday, instead of doing patches, I'm going to do something completely different, and I'm going to do some home sort of stuff, because everyone's spends so much time at home right now. So I feel like that's kind of, and so it's different, but it's because of what's going on in our
What would that mean, home kind of stuff? Do you even know what that means yet?
Yeah, I don't know.
So I was thinking go the direction of like beakers and syringes, like little, like 70s biotech or something like that.
Well, what I do, because the great thing about my business is that I make everything myself, so it's really low risk. So like, if some business decides they want to make this shirt, normally manufacturers would be like, okay, well, the minimum is this amount, and the more you buy, the cheaper it gets. But then you're stuck with product if it doesn't sell. Whereas I can just do a design. If it doesn't sell, the only thing that gets hurt is my ego, but that's okay. And so that what I'm doing is I'm going to do, so like what I like to do is, because for a design side, I spend a lot of time on details, and maybe too much, but I think it's really important to have everything be like, you know, really perfect in the sense of like, well, I think perfect, like, you know, composition, layout, and that can be for graphic web design or like what I do. And I think that, you know, other designers can tell when something's not aligned, and so that's important. Whereas like somebody like your average eye might not. But I think it's like the most important thing is to get respect from like fellow designers, and not just from like someone who's like, oh, that looks good. I mean, that's important too. Anyway, so I'm doing wall hangings on velvet. So I'm embroidering on velvet, so it'll be like 8 by 10. So I'm basically gonna have, instead of my canvas being like 3 by 3, it's gonna be bigger. And so I kind of hope that, I think I have one. It's over. Should I grab it?
Yeah.
Does it matter? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, please. That sounds.
It would be like this.
That's
it's
amazing.
Not done yet. So we got the wood done, but then I feel like it's a good buy for Christmas. You know, you can buy it from other people, and everyone's at home. And then for my hope is that it helps me grow from just not doing patches to like, you know, more like, hey, I can do other things too. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. So I think it's important, you know, to not just be like stuck in one road. You know, you can do many things.
What's your process like? So you're your own boss, right?